Begin. I will count down from 5, after which the live stream broadcast will begin.
What we saw in Afghanistan last month was devastating. The decisions that President Biden has made, or making, were disastrous. I fear America is less safe because of them. These self-inflicted wounds have made our job even more important and difficult.
Begins with my thanks for Ranking Member Turner.
We must find out what advice President Biden was given or ignored in making these disastrous decisions. We must find out exactly how many Americans President Biden left behind. We must find out how much military equipment President Biden left to the Taliban. Finally, we need a plan from the President to counter and defeat terrorists in Afghanistan. There are many more questions about what happened in Afghanistan that must be answered. It's the duty of this committee to find the answers. There's a tremendous amount of anger among the members on my side of the aisle over this blunder that unfolded in Afghanistan, and I'm as angry as they are. But I ask the members to channel that anger into productive debate.
Bipartisan process that keeps our long-standing tradition of producing.
If we're going to really honestly look at Afghanistan, we need to look at all 20 years. There was a lot that went into that, and I think simply focusing on the last 4 months would do an incredible disservice to the men and women who have served there, and that's what I would ask this committee to do, is better understand everything that happened over the course of 20 years.
17, and in consultation with the ranking.
When it comes to this disaster continuing to unfold in Afghanistan, we must focus on 4 distinct priorities. The administration must provide us a plan to get the rest of our Americans out of Afghanistan. Determine the extent of weapons and equipment that was left behind, deny funds to the Taliban, and inhabit the recognition of the Taliban as a legitimate government.
Objection, the amendments are considered as read.
The idea that the only thing that went wrong in Afghanistan is what President Biden has done in the last 6 or 7 months is not correct. We were presented with a very difficult situation. When President Biden came into the office, the Taliban were rolling across Afghanistan, picking up even more towns on a day-in and day-out basis. How long could the Afghan government stay?
Arizona is recognized for 5 minutes for the purpose of...
And I hope that we'll also discuss that if we didn't want this to happen, the only real choice was to escalate. It was to send in more troops. It would have been irresponsible, and I had these conversations with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and others. The notion that we could have just left 2,500 troops there after the peace agreement negotiated by Donald Trump ended on May 1st, and that those 2,500 troops could fight off the Taliban who were rolling across the country is absurd. We would have had to put more troops in there, and more Americans would have had to die. Now, maybe that's the choice we should have made. Okay, and we can have that discussion, and we can have an honest discussion of the trade-offs, the pros and the cons, and argue for that, defend that. But the idea that there was some option where we could have just stayed in a perfectly peaceful environment with no risk, I hope this debate gets a little bit better than that as we move forward and honestly looks at what the choices were there.
Considered as read, and the gentlewoman is recognized for 3 minutes for the purpose of explaining.